NASCAR's ultimate underdog, Carl Long. Carl Long is a former NASCAR Cup Series, Xfinity Series, Craftsman Truck Series, and ARCA Series driver that competed from 1987 through 2020. Through Long's career, he made starts for some notable teams, including Sadler Brothers Racing, J. Robinson Racing, Rick Ware Racing, Mike Harmon Racing, Front Row Motorsports, Hoover Motorsports, and MBM Motorsports. Now, Carl Long was never a top-level NASCAR driver. One of the perennial backmarkers, Long was able to keep his team in business for quite some time. Other than a race car driver, Carl has also served as a mechanic for MBM Motorsports, Spears Motorsports, and Travis Carter Enterprises. Also, he served as a crew chief at Front Row Motorsports for Eric McClure, and as a competition director at Rick Ware Racing. Way back in 1983, Carl Long got his start into racing in the mini-stock class at both Orange County Speedway and South Boston Speedway. A little later in the decade, Long made the switch to late-model stock cars in the late 80s and early 90s, eventually winning the track championship at Orange County Speedway in 1990. Starting in 1992, Long began the occasional start in the Winston Racing Series. He was awarded the Best Sportsman Award the following season. After competing at various Winston Racing Series racetracks through the 90s, Long moved up to the Slim Jim All-Pro Series in 1997, behind the wheel of a number 15 Austin Crackers Chevrolet full-time. Long's best start was 7th, 4 times, at Homestead, St. Augustine, Salem, and Topeka. His best finish was 1st at Bristol in the early summer. Overall, in 18 starts, Long scored 1 win, 3 top 5s, and 7 top 10s, finishing 13th in final Slim Jim All-Pro Series point standings. In 1998, Carl Long began making ARCA and Craftsman Truck Series starts for MBM Motorsports, making 2 starts behind the wheel of Dixon's number 14 Ford. Long's best start was 26th at Charlotte in the spring, and his best finish was 14th at Charlotte in the fall. Overall, 2 ARCA Series starts, Long scored 1 top 15 and 1 top 20. He then made 4 Slim Jim All-Pro Series starts, 2 behind the wheel of a number 15 Chevrolet. His best start in that number 15 was 15th, and his best finish in the number 15 was 22nd, both coming at Nazareth in the summer. Then 2 behind the wheel of a number 95 Chevrolet. His best start in that number 95 was 25th at Homestead in the fall, and his best finish in that number 95 was 33rd in Nashville in the fall. As far as the Craftsman Truck Series, he attempted a few races, but was not able to actually make any races. Finally moving up to the Craftsman Truck Series in 1998, behind the wheel of MBM Motorsports number 91 Ford, making 4 attempts, qualifying at Bristol in the late summer, starting 21st and finishing 31st, after his engine expired on lap 111. Long continued his slow climb up the NASCAR ladder in 1999, remaining behind the wheel of MBM Motorsports number 91 Ford, making 3 attempts, qualifying twice in the Craftsman Truck Series. Long's best start was 9th, and his best finish was 20th, both coming at Bristol in the early summer. Carl also qualified his way into his first career NASCAR Cup Series race at Charlotte in the spring, in the Coca-Cola 600 in the year 2000. But NASCAR legend Darrell Waltrip was not able to qualify for the race on time, so he went to Dixon and he bought the number 85 ride. So Long was not actually able to make the start because Waltrip needed a spot in the race for his final Coca-Cola 600. Later in the same season, Long made his first 2 official Cup Series starts behind the wheel of Thee Dixon's number 85 St. Wooten Ford. Long's best start was 42nd at Dover in the fall, and his best finish was 32nd at Rockingham in the fall, DQing 8 out of his 10 attempts in 2000 in the Cup Series. Down in the Craftsman Truck Series, Carl Long made 4 attempts for 3 different teams, 2 for Thee Dixon, DQing his number 91 at Martinsville and Daytona, 1 for Phillip Evans at Texas in the fall, DQing there as well. Then 1 start behind the wheel of Tom Mizuchi's number 23 Redline Oil Chevrolet at Charlotte in the fall, starting 33rd and finishing 17th. Then, in the ARCA Series, Carl made 2 attempts, qualifying once behind the wheel of Dixon's number 41 Chick-fil-A Ford, starting 5th, leading 7 laps, and finishing 7th at Charlotte in the spring. Returning to Thee Dixon's number 85 Dodges and Fords, in the NASCAR Cup Series, making 12 attempts, only qualifying 3 times throughout the entire 2001 NASCAR Cup Series season. Long's best start was 26th in Atlanta in the fall, and his best finish was 29th at Charlotte in the fall. Making his first career start in the then Busch Series, Carl was behind the wheel of Jay Robinson's number 49 Robinson Construction Ford, starting 41st and finishing 42nd after a handling issue ended his race early. The 2002 season had Carl Long all over the place in the garage area. In the Cup Series, he made 16 attempts, qualifying twice throughout the 2002 season. For Dixon, Long made 5 attempts, qualifying once at Pocono in the early summer, starting 42nd and finishing 42nd after an issue with his brakes on lap 18. For Foster Price, he made 5 attempts, qualifying once at Atlanta in the fall, starting 43rd and finishing 39th. Long also made 5 attempts in Rick Ware Racing's number 51 Dodge, and a one-off attempt in Scott Hillis' number 79 Dodge, though he DNQ'd all 6 attempts. In the Busch Series, Long made 2 attempts, one behind the wheel of a number 64 Diabetes Foundation Dodge, and in Robert Creech's number 22 Webco ABB Dodge, DNQing both events. In the Craftsman Truck Series, Long made 2 starts for 2 different race teams. A one-off start at Dover in the spring behind the wheel of Thee Dixon's number 85 Dodge, starting 16th and finishing 26th, following a transmission issue on lap 99. Then another one-off start at Richmond in the fall, starting 21st and finishing 30th, following a lap 101 accident behind the wheel of Rick Ware Racing's number 51 Dodge. In 2003, Carl Long's continued carousel through different series and rides continued, making 2 attempts in the NASCAR Cup Series behind the wheel of Rick Glenn's number 46 Glenn Underwater Services Dodge, DNQing both attempts. Now in the Busch Series, Long made 2 starts, behind the wheel of Robert Creech's number 13 Wesco Dodge. His best start was 21st and his best finish was 28th, both coming at Rockingham in the spring. As for the Craftsman Truck Series, Long made 2 attempts, both for Rick Ware Racing, behind the wheel of his number 51 Dodge, qualifying at Loudon in the fall, starting 32nd and finishing 36th, following a rear-end issue on lap 4, DNQing his second attempt at Homestead in the fall. The 2004 season started off with a bang for Carl Long, making 17 attempts for 6 different race teams, qualifying 6 times in the NASCAR Cup Series, making 5 attempts and qualifying 2 times behind the wheel of Rick Glenn's number 46 Dodge. Long's best start in that 46 was 33rd at Loudon in the summer, and his best finish in that number 46 was 38th, due to a rollover accident on lap 255 at Rockingham in the spring. Then he made 4 attempts, qualifying for 2 races behind the wheel of Stan Hoover's number 80 Ford. Long's best start in that number 80 was 43rd, both starts, and his best finish was 39th both starts, DNFing both races prior to lap 100. 8 attempts, qualifying once behind the wheel of Raymond Glenn's 00 Dodge at Pocono in the early summer, starting 38th and finishing 41st, following a lap 39 accident, as well as making a one-off start behind the wheel of Hermie Sadler's number 02 Pontiac at Las Vegas in the spring, starting 41st and finishing 38th after an oil pump issue ended his race early on lap 145. Down in the Busch Series, Long made 4 attempts for 2 different teams. 2 attempts, qualifying once behind the wheel of Charles Long's number 83 Ford at Rockingham, starting 24th and finishing 28th. The other team that Long made 2 attempts for was Joe Riley's number 07 Ford. Out of 2 attempts, he qualified once at Loudon in the summer, starting 37th and finishing 41st after his engine expired on lap 12. The following season, in 2005, Carl Long finally settled on one team in the NASCAR Cup Series, Raymond McGlynn's McGlynn Racing, using both their numbers 80 and 00. The team had a fleet of Chevrolets and Dodges, making 25 attempts throughout the season, qualifying 9 times. Long's best start was 20th at Atlanta in the fall, and his best finish was 32nd twice at Bristol in the late summer and Atlanta in the fall, as well as making a one-off attempt behind the wheel of Stan Hoover's number 80 Dodge, DNQing at Homestead in the fall. In the Busch Series, Long made 11 attempts for 7 different teams, making 4 attempts behind the wheel of Don Cupp's number 46 Dodge, DNQing all attempts, making 3 attempts behind the wheel of John Carter's number 37 Dodge, DNQing all 3 events with that team as well. Next up, during the 2006 season, Long made a one-off attempt at Daytona in the spring behind the wheel of Stan Hoover's number 80 Ford, though he DNQ'd. He made 3 attempts, qualifying once behind the wheel of Front Row Motorsports number 34 Oak Glove Company Chevrolet at Bristol in the late summer, starting 31st and finishing 29th. The Busch Series saw Carl Long make 7 attempts, qualifying 5 times behind the wheel of Keith Coleman's number 23s and number 26s LoveFifis.com Chevrolets. Long's best start was 32nd at Loudon in the summer. His best finish was 34th at Gateway in the late summer. Making 3 ARCA Series starts also behind the wheel of Roger Carter's number 48 FreeFeds.org Dodge. Long's best start was 14th at Chicagoland in the late summer, and his best finish was 10th at Gateway in the late summer. Overall, in 3 ARCA Series starts, Long scored 1 top 10. This top 10 was his first top 10 since 2000. That following season, in 2007, Long attempted the Fall Charlotte race in the Cup Series, behind the wheel of John Carter's number 08 Dodge, though he DNQ'd. In the Busch Series, Long made 3 attempts, qualifying twice, behind the wheel of Chuck Friedel's number 54 Dodge. Long's best start was 35th, and his best finish was 33rd, both coming at Dover in the fall. In 07, Carl ran just over half the Hooters Pro Cup Series schedule, still behind the wheel of that number 12 Romeo Guest Construction Ford. Long's best start was 7th, twice, at both South Boston races. His best finish was 2nd at Concord in the spring. Overall, in 8 Hooters Pro Cup Series starts, Long scored 2 top 5s and 4 top 10s. Next up, in the 2008 NASCAR Cup Series season, Long made 2 one-off attempts, one for John Carter's number 08 Dodge at Daytona in the spring, then one in a self-owned number 46 Dodge at Loudon in the summer, DNQing for both events. Now, in the Nationwide Series, Carl qualified for 2 events for 2 separate teams, one in a self-owned number 46 Dodge at Darlington in the spring, starting 35th and finishing 40th due to a handling issue, ending his race early on lap 9. The following race at Charlotte in the spring, behind the wheel of Mike Harmon's number 84 Chevrolet, starting 32nd and finishing 42nd. Then, he also made 10 Hooters Pro Cup Series starts throughout the 08 season, behind the wheel of that number 12 Romeo Guest Construction Ford. Long's best start was 5th at Rockingham in the fall. His best finish was 3rd at Concord in the spring. Overall, in 10 Hooters Pro Cup Series starts, Long scored 1 top 5 and 3 top 10s. Attempting the Daytona 500 behind the wheel of his self-owned number 46 Dodge, starting 28th in his Gatorade Dual qualifying race, and only coming up a couple positions short of racing his way into the Daytona 500 by finishing 17th in his duel. If he would have finished 15th or better, Carl would have been locked into his first Daytona 500. Then a bit later in the spring of 09, while practicing for the Sprint Showdown, Long was suspended by NASCAR for having a slightly oversized engine, only 0.17 cubic inches over regulation. This resulted in a 12-race ban, a record $200,000 fine for his crew chief, and a 200 driver and owner points deduction. Carl appealed their decision, but it was declined. He was unable to pay the massive fine against him and the team. This kept Carl Long out of the Cup Series garage for several years. With the dawn of a brand new decade, in 2010, Carl made 7 Nationwide Series attempts for 2 different teams. 4 behind the wheel of Craig Partey's number 68 Chevrolet, making 4 attempts, qualifying twice. Long's best start was 31st, and his best finish was 31st, both coming at Gateway in the fall. The other team that Long made 3 attempts for, he was behind the wheel of Fred Bickford's number 94 team, and he only qualified at Gateway in the fall. Starting 30th, and after an electrical issue, he DNF'd on lap 2, leaving him to finish 40th. The Craftsman Truck Series saw Carl Long make 11 attempts for 3 different teams. 8 attempts, qualifying 7 times, behind the wheel of Daisy Ramirez, number 01 Chevrolet. His best start was 25th, and his best finish was 11th, both coming at Dover in the spring. Overall, in 7 Craftsman Truck Series starts, Long scored 1 top 15 and 3 top 20s. Then 2 starts behind the wheel of Danny Gill's number 95 Dodge. Long's best start in that 95 was 21st at Pocono in the summer. His best finish at the number 95 was 35th in Nashville in the summer. The final Craftsman Truck Series team that Long made a start with was Rick Ware Racing, behind the wheel of their number 6, KissesForKate.org Chevrolet at Kentucky in the summer, starting 31st and finishing 26th. Finally, in 2011, Carl Long became essentially a full-time driver in the Nationwide Series, the former Busch Series, renamed when the new primary sponsor Nationwide Insurance came aboard starting in 2008. Behind the wheel of Rick Ware Racing's number 41 and number 75, Lilly Trucking of Virginia Fords, spending the entire season around 30th in points. Long's best start was 22nd at Las Vegas in the spring, and his best finish was 31st, DNQing 4 times along the way, finishing 31st in final Nationwide Series point standings. In the Craftsman Truck Series, Long also made a one-off start at Dover behind the wheel of Rick Ware's number 1 Chevrolet, starting 34th and finishing 33rd. For the 2012 season, Carl Long made 10 attempts, qualifying 9 times, behind the wheel of either number 71, 15, or 75 Chevrolets, making 9 starts throughout the 2012 season. Long's best start was 32nd twice, at Atlanta and Dover in the fall. His best finish was 37th 4 times, at Bristol in the late summer, Kentucky, Dover, and Kansas in the fall, finishing 64th in final Nationwide Series point standings. In 2013, it was more of the same for Long, as he made 16 starts throughout the season, 8 of which were made behind the wheel of Rick Ware Racing's number 15 Ford, qualifying for 5 races. Long's best start for Rick Ware was 33rd at Iowa in the early summer. His best finish was 28th at Richmond in the fall. Then he made 10 attempts in Mike Harmon's number 74 Chevrolet. His best start while driving for Mike Harmon was 24th at Phoenix in the fall. His best finish while driving for Mike Harmon was 28th at Kentucky in the summer, finishing 42nd in final Nationwide Series point standings. Carl made his 20th and final career Craftsman Truck Series start at Bowmanville behind the wheel of Ken Smith's number 07 Chevrolet, starting 27th and finishing 29th after his brakes failed on lap 4. For the 2014 Nationwide Series season, Long made 20 attempts for several different teams, 10 attempts, qualifying 3 times behind the wheel of Curtis Key's number 46 Chevrolet. His best start was 39th, and his best finish was 39th, both coming in Atlanta in the late summer. Long made 6 attempts, qualifying 3 times behind the wheel of that number 13 Dodge owned by Derek White. Long's best start in that number 13 was 31st at Michigan in the early summer. His best finish was 32nd at Dover in the fall in that number 13. Next up was James Whitner's number 93 Dodge, making 4 Nationwide Series starts. Long's best start was 32nd at Bristol in the spring, and his best finish was 28th at Iowa in the spring. Then Long made 4 starts for Rick Ware Racing, 2 in a number 15 Chevrolet, 1 in a number 23 Chevrolet, and 1 in a number 87 Chevrolet. His best start was 33rd at Elkhart Lake in the early summer. His best finish was 32nd at Iowa in the late summer, as well as making 3 starts behind the wheel of James Carter's number 72 Chevrolet. Long's best start was 34th in Indianapolis in the summer. His best finish was 35th twice at Chicagoland in the summer and Dover in the fall. He also had a one-off start for Jimmy Means in his number 79 Toyota at California in the spring, starting 40th and finishing 38th after an electrical issue on lap 7 ended his race early. Carl finished 38th in final Nationwide Series point standings. Carl continued to run a select schedule for lower tier teams in 2015, behind the wheel of Derek White's number 13s and number 40s, that's Dodges and Toyotas, making 15 starts altogether. Long's best start was 27th at Dover in the spring, and his best finish was 26th at Kentucky in the fall, finishing 41st in final Xfinity Series point standings. Going into the 2015 season, Nationwide Insurance left as primary sponsor of the series, and Xfinity Mobile became the new series sponsor. The 2016 season was both good and bad for Carl Long. Again, he returned to Derek White's number 13s and number 40 Dodges and Toyotas race team. Starting at race 6 in Texas, Carl Long purchased the whole team from Derek White, making 15 attempts, qualifying 12 times. Long's best start was 28th at Loudon in the summer, and his best finish was 30th twice at Talladega and Charlotte in the spring, finishing 42nd in final Xfinity Series point standings. In 2017, NASCAR and Carl Long finally came to an agreement after working in other series for years, as well as paying off his debt. The two struck a deal allowing Long and his MBM Motorsports race team back into the Cup Series, having several drivers make starts for his team when Long was not racing that weekend. Carl made 3 starts. His best start was 39th at Martinsville in the fall. His best finish was 31st at Kansas in the spring. In the Xfinity Series, Long made 12 attempts, qualifying 11 times, behind the wheel of his cell-phone number 13s, number 40s, and 72 Chevrolets, Dodges, and Toyotas. Long's best start was 32nd at Phoenix in the spring, and his best finish was 27th at Bristol in the spring. Again, in 2018, Long made 8 Xfinity Series starts throughout the 18 season, all in self-owned equipment. 6 starts behind the wheel of their number 66 Chevrolets and Dodges, then a one-off start apiece in their number 13 Toyota and their number 40 Dodge. Long's best start was 32nd at Dover in the spring, and his best finish was also 32nd, but it was at Elkhart Lake in the late summer, finishing 62nd in the final Xfinity Series point standings. For the 2019 season, Carl Long made 2 Xfinity Series starts throughout the 19 season, behind the wheel of his self-owned number 13 Crash Claims R.Us Toyota. Long's best start was 23rd at Loudon in the late summer, and his best finish was 28th at Dover in the fall. Long's final career NASCAR start that he would make came in 2020 at Martinsville in the fall, behind the wheel of a cell-phone number 66 Crash Claims R.Us Toyota, starting 37th and finishing 32nd. Starting in about 2016 all the way to the current day, Long has put other drivers behind the wheel of his race cars, such as Timmy Hill, J.J. Yaley, Chad Fincham, and David Starr, among several others. So, in 26 NASCAR Cup Series starts, Carl Long has scored 0 poles, 0 wins, 0 top 5s, and 0 top 10s, with a best points finish of 53rd in 2005. In 128 O'Reilly Auto Parts Series starts, Long scored 0 poles, 0 wins, 0 top 5s, and 0 top 10s, with a best points finish of 31st in 2011. In 20 Craftsman Truck Series starts, Long scored 0 poles, 0 wins, 0 top 5s, and 0 top 10s, with a best points finish of 41st in 2010. In 11 ARCA Series starts, Long has scored 0 poles, 0 wins, 0 top 5s, and 2 top 10s, with a best points finish of 58th. In 27 Slim Jim All-Pro Series starts, Long scored 0 poles, 1 win, 3 top 5s, and 7 top 10s, with a best points finish 13th in 1997. In 21 Hooters Pro Cup Series starts, Long scored 0 poles, 0 wins, 2 top 5s, and 8 top 10s, with a best points finish of 13th in 2008. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care.